Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, of course, mops and pops, or if you prefer, grandmothers and grandfathers, and baseball fans everywhere, welcome to this 5th edition of the Valley Baseball League video podcast. Hello everyone, my name is Graham Knight, and I'm here on behalf of the Valley Baseball League and all the teams in this league. I know, like you, I'd rather be out on the baseball diamond than here in my house doing these podcasts, but it's the second best thing. So what do I mean by it's the second best thing? Well, today we've got a really big shoe. Sorry about that, couldn't resist. A really big show. We're going to talk to Mike Bocock today. Just to recap, day one we talked to Bruce Alger, the president and commissioner of the league. He's also president of the Newmarket Rebels. Day two we talked to Brett Fuller. We've talked to Mike Smith. We talked to Greg Howard. Really enjoyed that interview with Greg, talking about what life in the Valley League is like from behind the plate. And today we're going to bring you one of the storied coaches in this league. Mike came back last year to the league and took the Woodstock River Bandits from a absolutely disastrous season to an almost victory. Came so close to winning the division and going on to playing in the championships. In a few minutes we'll talk to Mike. But for those of you who are new to the Valley League, I want to give you just a really quick primer. You know, the Valley League can be summed up in 4 sentences, really. Sentence number 1, we are here to give these players a chance to see what life is like in the pros. Really important, give them a chance to see if they really want to go pro. It's a big commitment. They'll come and play with us for 42 days, 42 games in 65 days, plus playoffs and championships. It's a lot of baseball. We're here to give them a chance to improve their skills. We're also here to promote baseball in the Shenandoah Valley. And finally, we are here to provide good quality family entertainment for cheap, affordable prices. If you have not been to one of our games and experienced what you can get for $5 for adults and $3 for kids, you're really missing out. How much are you missing out, and how magic is the Valley League? Well, tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to a guy who's been in this league for 6 decades. And I'll share my personal story. As you know, I'm a hockey player. I'm not a very good baseball player. I don't mind saying that up front, but more about that tomorrow. Let's get into our conversation with Mike Bocock. Here's Jeremy Huber with that discussion.
Welcome into another edition of the VBL podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Huber, the voice of the Purcellville Cannons, and we're very lucky today to be joined by a Valley League legend. It's the head coach of the Woodstock River Bandits, Mike Bocock, 7-time champion of the VBL. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome, Jeremy. I'm glad I could pitch in here a little bit.
Well, so glad to have you. And again, you know, you're a legend in this league. For all the guys you've coached, championships you've won, you've seen a lot of baseball in the Shenandoah Valley. We start here. Your thoughts on the cancellation of the Valley season due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, number one, I think the executive committee made a great decision. I mean, you know, you just look at the main cause of this thing is that the host family. You can't bring a player in from, you know, out of state or wherever. Chances he may have it, or, you know, it's just a different time. And so the host family situation has got to be the utmost of, you know, responsibility for the league. And, you know, I think the league acted on it. You know, we're supposed to start in June. So, you know, you got to get guys in here in the end of May, and who knows what's this going to be. So, but I think Bruce and Bruce Alger does a great job as the president. He's going to make great decisions, and I think he had to. It's not a great decision. I mean, you know, the great decision is we want to play. All coaches, all players want to play, and, you know, all the teams want to have teams, but we have to do it. You know, for me, it's not just the games; it's the camaraderie that I have with my players, my coaches, the you know, people in the towns of Woodstock or Luray, wherever I've been. You know, that's the most important thing. And right now with social distancing and things, you know, we can't do it, and I understand.
Mike, it's interesting, and in the Valley, you know, you might get 4 or 5 kids back a year if you're lucky, but your team so much momentum coming off that 2019 campaign where they won 5 games in 18. You guys finished 1 game out of first place in the North, go to the playoffs last year. The momentum of the town you guys had gained in Woodstock, is it kind of crushing not to be able to follow that up with another hopefully good season for the River Bandits?
Well, we had plans to have a good season. We had plans to have quite a few guys back, 10 or 12 guys. And, and we even had 2 or 3 seniors that would have been senior years that played last year, couldn't come back, but now they wanted to come back. So, with that in mind, I think we had the makings of a good season. But, you never win a championship or anything in May and April, and who knows what. It's a lot of intangibles. A lot of things can happen between, now and the 1st of August. But we think we had the likes of a good ball club put together. And, we'll just have to wait and see for next year. We had a lot of young guys. So, and with the eligibility of the seniors, who knows? I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess everybody would get an extra year of eligibility. So we're kind of in the same place next year, the same time. So, yeah, I think we were banking on that. I had all my coaches back, and, we were looking forward to it. But, we'll look forward to it again next year. I know that, Porky said, "Hey, man, you're still the coach of the Woodstock River Bandits." I said, "Yeah, I'm still the coach. I'm, looking forward to it." So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Mike, again, you've been so successful at so many different places. I think the easy answer is get good players. But besides that, what is key to turning an organization around and keeping it as a good one, especially in the Valley League?
I think that, Jeremy, I think players, whether they admit it or not, they want a disciplined routine of how the game is played. And I think we bring that. I'm not the Elliott Avent or the J.D. Arteaga at North Carolina State in Miami that can come in here and yell at these guys every day. But I think they understand. And I think my coaching staff, we talk about things as, hey, we're here as teachers. And I think once they buy into your philosophy and how you are as a person, and believe me, I've changed. I've changed a whole lot from the time I first started coaching to now. And people said, "Well, you've lost a lot of." No, I haven't lost it. I've just had it under control. And so, but in all honesty, I think that the way you treat your players is how you get out of it. And if the guys buy into your method and your stuff and understand what your requirements are and your disciplines, they're going to be better ball players when they go back to their schools, and they've earned your respect, and they're going to play for you.
And in that sense, Mike, is it important that you are sending these guys back as better ball players to their schools, because then their coaches are trusting you with the next crop of good players they have?
I think that's very, very true. And Jeremy, I know that my guys, with guys like Elliott Avent, all the coaches that I've always been a part of and used, they know the kind of player, the kind of coach that I am, and they know what they're going to get. Terry Rooney sends me guys from University of Houston. I mean, you didn't have many guys from University of Houston in this league. So all of a sudden last year, and now I've got some of the better players in the league. We're from University of Houston, and we had another good crop of guys coming from Houston. And Terry Rooney knows, from coaching with me, and he knows what kind of guys that's going to respond to me and I need. So with that back in line, I think, the time that I took off from coaching the Valley League, it's just now, everybody's on board. I'm getting, we had calls from, other schools, LSU, and a lot of people that all of a sudden they didn't even know I was back coaching again. And now they want to send their guys because they know, and I really truly believe this, thanks to my assistant coaches, they know they're going to have a better product when they get back to school in the fall. So that in mind, I think you get college coaches wanting you to take their guys for the summer.
Mike, it's funny. The Valley League's going to be doing some countdowns on top moments, all decade teams, all those. If you would do me the favor, what are some of your top moments as a coach in the Valley?
Well, I spent a lot of years here, so I had a lot of good players. It was funny because one of the things we talked about in the book the other day, the guys were talking and said, we really want to know your all Bocock team and what kind of players. And I said, man, I tell you, it's hard to pick because, I said, I'm going to have to use at least 35 or 40 names and then kind of go there. But to see guys like, Aubrey Huff and Yonder Alonzo and Danny Murphy and Brian Bokai, some of these guys that made it all the way to the show. And in fact, the funny thing is I didn't even realize some of the pitchers that I had. And Danny Hernandez, I said, I forgot that I had Danny. And, at Eli Villanueva, I said, some of these guys that made it all the way. And that's a highlight, of that. And to see these guys come together and win, last year, to see the Woodstock team respond the way they did, all these young guys, they bought into it. And all of a sudden we were very, very close to winning a championship. I mean, we, a couple breaks either way and we probably win the thing. But, it's just some championships. The one of the teams that I remember, and funny you should ask this question because that's one of the questions they ask in the book. What was your best team? And I said, well, probably the best team was the '96 team, the Stanton Brave team, and then of course I had a couple good Lou Ray teams with Murphy and some of those guys. We had some really, really good ball clubs. Jamie McOwen and we had Yonder Alonzo and Ryan Shep. We had a lot of really good kids in Lou Ray, so we had a good team there. But some of the teams like the Waynesboro team that we weren't very talented. We finished, barely made the playoffs, and then we ended up winning the championship. That was fun because those guys, really exceeded and excelled far beyond what they thought. And the same thing with this Woodstock team, but I thought, as the winter went on this year, I said, I think we were a lot better than people thought we were. I mean, I had Aiden Nagel who could he was just a great hitter. And in fact, I told Brett Fuller that Percival getting ready for the start of the season, and Aiden came up, and in Percival at right center, they got the trees out there and everything, and Aiden was just hitting balls in the trees, just crushing them. And Brett and I, we get, I think Jimmy Singhast was over there somewhere too. We were talking, and I said, he goes, who's this kid? And I said, well, it's kind of a long story. We got him from somewhere in California. And so, I said, he's pretty good. Well, later on, Brett came, we got back to Woodstock one day, and Brett goes, hey, yeah, he is pretty good. I said, yeah. He goes, he was also the California Player of the Year. I said, yeah, I knew that too, but I wasn't going to tell you right then. So he was a pretty good player. And you saw him, Jeremy. You saw him all summer, and Aiden Nagel could hit. And again, as soon as I saw him swinging the first time, this guy gets in the batter's box with only dirt in hands. And I'm thinking, you don't have guys. Most guys have arm pads and batting gloves and everything else, and they got to get in there and do everything. Aiden just gets in there and just starts smacking it around. And that was probably one of the reasons why he's such a good hitter, and one of the reasons why they got him out sometimes, because, he's just up there swinging. He's going to take hacks. So, if I was pitching against him, just don't throw strikes. Throw it anywhere but across the plate.
Hey, I want to take a minute to encourage you to subscribe, like, and share us. By subscribing to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified each time we post new content. By the way, we will be posting every day at game time. That's 7 p.m. Eastern. So expect for the next 4 months to see new content from us every night, 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel. Like us and share us on all your favorite Facebook pages, and please write us back. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at VB League, Valley Baseball League. It's just VB League at isomermedia.com. That's ISOMERMEDIA, VB League at isomermedia.com. You can also message us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever works for you. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got ideas for things you want us to cover, or you've got questions, or you've got a point you'd like to make, we encourage your feedback. This is, after all, a two-way conversation. And like I said, please, please, please consider getting John Leonard's 2019 Valley Baseball League Annual. Some great information in there. We're going to be focusing hard on the 2019 season. We'd love to have you follow along. $10 for 85,000 words, 265 pages. No matter how you slice it, it's a deal. All right, enough out of me for now. Let's get back to the conversation.
We're here with the legend, Mike Bocock, and Mike, couple more for you. You referenced the book. Tell us a little bit more about the book and maybe the timeline that people will be able to hopefully will finish up and be able to read it.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll get it done by midsummer. That's what we're shooting for now. It's the name of the book is Close to the Dirt, and it just talks about baseball, Valley League, kind of how I grew up, and playing for the great Ray Heatwell, and in my college days, and in coaching, a lot in the Valley League, and just baseball stories, when you coach in the Valley League, we were talking there. I could go on and on about different stories that happened over the few years, and just some funny and some, but it's a lot of fun talking about the stories, and and that's what I'm going to miss this year about the Valley League. Like I said before, it's not the games, it's the camaraderies that you have. Like Brett Fuller and myself, Mike Smith, all those guys. I have a great respect for the other coaches, and it's so many good times that you have. Even Kevin Anderson now at Shenandoah. Kevin doesn't coach anymore in the league, but Kevin and I were real close, and we battled many a day. Dayton Moore, it was fun to see him elected into the Valley League Hall of Fame, because Dayton and I, him being, he's a World Series guy. And as soon as I see him, it's not like the World Series. I'm giving him a hug, and we're talking about, hey, you remember this happened? And we're just going back with the old Valley League days and stuff. And I think that's the way baseball people are. It doesn't, no matter how high you went or how low you went, it's just when baseball comes together, it's so many stories and so many things that happened, and how how you got to know each other. It might be that you slid in home, and that's how you started to know each other, whatever. But it's just baseball stories that, happened to me and happened around the teams I coached, Mike Smith was in front row coaching one time, and Mike Smith, there's a play in the playoffs. We're playing front row, and I've never seen anything like it. There were 3 guys sliding into home at the same time. And I think we end up getting 2 out of the 3 out. So it was good. But just little things like that, that the camaraderie of the game of baseball, right before BP, all the 2 coaches are sitting there talking and, telling the stories and talking about your team. You had this happen and all this. And that's the fun part. It is fun to win, and the winning is a byproduct of you just doing what you're supposed to do. But it's all a good thing. That's what I'm going to miss in the Valley League. And you go through your season, and from 12 o'clock till 12 o'clock, at night, you're working on, that's your game day. It doesn't just start at 8 o'clock at night when the game starts, or 7 o'clock or whatever. It starts, 4 or 5 hours ahead of time, getting your lineups together, dealing with this player, hey, my girlfriend, she wants me to come home, hey, let's talk. And, so it's a whole mess of things that can go into the Valley League season. That always does. And it's a lot of fun.
Mike, one last one before we let you go, and thank you so much for all the time you've given us. We talked to the commissioner, Bruce Alger, and he had said that maybe, in this time off, the Valley League can look at a few things that maybe, normally they'd be so obsessed with playing games and the in-season, or maybe to make the league better. If you could put the commissioner's hat on and make maybe a little rule tweak or rule change, is there something you'd like to see the Valley League maybe implement to make it even better product than it is?
Well, one thing that would be, tremendous is to, the continue to have the 3 umpires or 4 umpires of the game. I mean, I think that would be, the game has gotten so fast that, 2 umpires just can't cover it. And a lot of times, and, they get in trouble with, trying to hustle there and, whatever. But the 3 umpire thing would be real good. And that's, of course, a financial thing for the teams. I'm sure that if, and I don't mean to be, I'm not patting Bruce on the back and wishing for, him to take good care of me, but I really mean that. I think Bruce Alger is a tremendous president, and I think he'll come up with some rules. But the rules are for the NCAA. You've got to follow the NCAA rules. And I give you an example would be, the time clock, and you get a different time clock for different umpire. And, so, I just think that we have to continue to grow and do the things that the NCAA are doing. And, I think that'll make a difference. I mean, there's no rule, that really significantly can change the league, I don't think. But there's a lot of good things that we do. And it's for summer baseball. It's for the support of the communities, and it's for those things. So those things have to be considered. I do like the player personnel. I don't like bringing kids in. And the one rule that I don't like, and when I got back to the league, all of a sudden now it was in, is if I get a player, I can recruit a player from Purcellville to come play the remainder of the playoffs in Woodstock. I don't like that at all. I think, you have your players. Once your team is finished, you're finished. I mean, your players are finished. You don't get a player just because you got a catcher that went home in Winchester, and I'm Purcellville and I don't have a chance to win it. I send a catcher to Winchester. I don't agree with that stuff. I think, you have to do your own recruiting outside of the league and outside of whatever. So that's kind of how I feel about that league, or that, that part of the league, I guess. It was new to me. And somebody said, well, we can call Front Row and see if we can get Trey. And I said, well, I talk to Trey every time I'm at third base. I said, he'd probably come play for me in a heartbeat. And, I just felt like, hey, we can't do that kind of stuff. I just don't agree with that.
So you mentioned Dayton Moore. You'll appreciate this too, Graham. There's a guy that I do a whole, in addition to the Canon stuff, I do games for Georgetown University and American University and all over the place. Right. And it's one of my good coworkers I did stuff with, used to be the voice of the Potomac Nationals, but then also he was the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, and the GM at the time was Dayton Moore. Yeah. So this was like 10, 15 years ago. So my buddy was at winter meetings, and he's just walking along and he hears, Dan. And he turns around. It was Dayton. Dayton not only recognized him, but called out this guy who he hadn't seen in 15 years and ran over to him and gave him a big hug and everything. So you're right. That dude is like salt of the earth to the nth degree. Oh, yeah. He doesn't forget anybody and treats them like gold, everybody.
Jeremy, the last time that Dayton coached Winchester in the Valley League, and we're playing in game 5 or game 7. I don't remember what, how it was. We're in Stanton, and it was bases loaded, 2 outs, and the kid from Georgia Southern hit the ball down the right field line. He was my guy. Okay. And whether the ball hit the line or not, I don't, who knows? In Stanton, you get that long right field down there, and all of a sudden, our guys come around and score, and the umpires go crazy, and everybody's going like, we won the game, and no, we didn't. And so Dayton, first time I see him, years later in the Hall of Fame, Dayton goes, "You think that ball hit the line?" I mean, he remembers that from and all the stuff he's been through, the World Series and stuff. And he had to remember. He goes, "Do you think that ball hit the line?" I'm going, "Man, I never thought about that. I guess." And but that's the kind of guy he is. You're right.
Yep. Well, Mike, one thing we can all agree on is you're a Valley League legend, and you've given us plenty of time today, and we want to thank you for it. Mike Bocock, head coach of the Woodstock River Bandits, thank you so much for joining us on the VBL podcast.
Jeremy, thank you, and I hope everybody stays safe out there, everybody, and we get this past us, and get back close to the dirt, man. This is what baseball is all about. We need to get. There's got to be summer baseball somewhere.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us for tonight. Thank you, Jeremy, for bringing us that interview with Mike Bocock. We hope you enjoyed that. Just a quick programming note. Tomorrow night, we're going to bring you a conversation with a guy that's been in this league for 6 decades. I'll also share with you my personal story about how the Valley League captured my imagination. Remember, I was a hockey player, not a baseball player. And to be honest with you, I'm not a good baseball player at all. Anyway, more about that tomorrow. Thank you for joining us tonight, and on behalf of the Valley Baseball League and all the teams in this league, we wish you all perfect health, and we wish you all a speedy return to the baseball diamond. Thanks again for watching. For the Valley Baseball League, I'm Graham Knight. Good night.